All right, let's talk about something we all deal with. Criticism. It's fascinating, right? But also, let's be real, it can be super frustrating. Why are we, as people, so quick to find the one little thing that's wrong? What does that impulse actually say about us? Well, today, we're going to dive right in and try to figure that out.
So to get us started, I've got a sort of word of the day for you, and it frames this whole thing perfectly. The word is carp. As in to carp on something. It basically means to complain in a really annoying way. And I bet we can all picture someone who does this, right? Maybe we've even been that person ourselves, just zeroing in on that one little thing to complain about. It's way more common than you'd think.
And that exact tendency, that carping, brings us to the big question we're tackling today. Just picture this for a second. You're standing in front of this huge, absolutely beautiful mural. It's a masterpiece. But for some reason, your eyes just drift. They drift right to the one tiny, little, insignificant paint drip. Why? Why does that one tiny flaw seem to scream for our attention?
Okay, so to answer that question, we've got to dig into what I'm calling the allure of the flaw. We need to get right down to the roots of this behavior because it's so deeply human and figure out why we seem to have this built-in tendency to criticize. So, if you look at it from the surface, the reasons are actually kind of simple. A lot of the time, it just comes down to our natural competitive streak. You know how it is, when you're not feeling so hot about yourself, it can be so tempting to point out someone else's mistake. It's like a quick fix, right? Not exactly the healthiest way to do it, but it's a way to try and make yourself feel a little bit taller.
But it's not just about simple competition. It goes a lot deeper than that. There's this really powerful psychological thing going on, a kind of reward system. Some people call it the critic's double win. And trust me, this is where it starts to get really interesting.
So this double win, it's got two parts that just feed into each other perfectly. The first win, by putting someone else down, we kind of trick our brains into feeling like we're on a higher level. It's a quick, easy ego boost. But then comes the second part, and this is the real kicker. When we see someone else's flaw or their wrong path, it makes us feel better about our own choices. It's like our brain goes, aha, see, I knew I was doing it the right way. It's this incredibly powerful, self-affirming 1-2 punch. Okay, I know. So far, we've painted a pretty dark picture of criticism, right? It all sounds pretty cynical, but is it really always that simple? Of course it's not. The truth is, all feedback, and I mean both criticism and praise, it's got two faces.
So let's really think about this for a second. Is pointing out a flaw always just about making ourselves feel better? Is it always just about ego? Or could there be another reason, a more constructive one? This question, this is everything when it comes to understanding how complicated feedback really is.
And this is where we see the two sides of the coin. On the one hand, criticism can absolutely be that ego-driven put-down we've been talking about. But on the other hand, it can also be a form of tough love, where you're genuinely trying to help someone improve by pointing something out. And get this, it even works the other way around. Compliments aren't always a good thing. Praising someone for something they didn't really earn can actually be pretty harmful. So what's the takeaway here? It's that intent and context. They are everything.
Which brings us to our last big idea. And honestly, this might be the most powerful part of this whole thing. If the intent and the context matter so much, then who's actually in charge here? Who controls what happens in a feedback situation? Well, the answer is, it's all about choice. Okay, let's look at the person giving the feedback first. The critic, the praiser, whoever. They have total control over how they deliver it. They're the ones who choose the tone, the words, and, this is the big one, the real intent behind it all. But, and this is so important, here's the other side of that coin. The person receiving the feedback, they have just as much control. You have complete power over how you take it in, how you interpret it, and whether or not you decide to let it get to you. You see, it really is a two-way street. The whole thing boils down to choices. The person giving the feedback chooses their intent. The person getting it chooses their reaction. Nothing is set in stone. It's almost like a dance between two people, where each one has a real say in how it turns out. And I want to leave you with this one final thought. Criticism can often feel like a big shadow just hanging over you. But this quote, I love this quote, it reminds us that you can't have a shadow without light somewhere nearby. So the next time you see that paint drip, whether you're the one pointing it out or you're the one who made it, maybe the real question you should ask yourself is this: where are you going to focus? On the shadow or on the light that has to be there to create it?